Graduates and guests, can I please ask you all to stand and give a round of applause for your senior officers of the University of Liverpool.
Please be seated. I declare this congregation for the celebration of our graduates open. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to your graduation ceremony. It's really wonderful to see you all here in person because we've had lots of these episodes, of course, we haven't actually been able to have face-to-face graduations. I'm Professor Tom Whalley. I'm standing in for the EPVC for the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences, Louise Kenny, who can't be here today. So first of all, I want to say what a tremendous privilege it is and a pleasure to be here with you today as we celebrate this important milestone in your lives, together with your families and your fellow students, and your lecturers, some of whom are up here on stage, and all those who have supported you on your journey to graduation through the University of Liverpool. It's a slightly unusual graduation because we've got a huge number of different awards in the room. And I'm going to read them out one by one, not all of your names individually, but just to acknowledge all the courses that are represented in this room, because every one of you deserves to be acknowledged in full. So we have a long list of Bachelor of Science degrees: Anatomy and Human Biology, Biological and Medical Sciences, Biological Sciences, Veterinary Sciences, bracket with year in China, close bracket, some psychology, BScs, and more in psychology, and zoology, BScs. And then we have a long list of others as well. We've got a large number of MScs and Masters of Research degrees in advanced biological sciences. We have a number of doctorates in clinical psychology present. We have MScs in organizational and business psychology, more psychology, MScs and PhDs. Masters of Public Health, Veterinary Business Management, Veterinary Parasitology, Bachelor's of Veterinary Science. So you're all here today, and I apologize if I've left somebody out, but it is a long list. So important that we acknowledge every single one of you, because the wide range of disciplines that you cover reflects all the activity of the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences, and it's really great to have you all here today. But even with such a diversity in learning outcomes and courses that you've experienced and future career plans, there's a lot that you have in common, not least how much you feel on a special day like this. So I remember how I was once in your position a long, long time ago, when not a student at this university and in another course entirely, but I had very mixed feelings. I had feelings of relief and pride that I had finally qualified. I was sad to leave behind my student years, and I was a bit apprehensive about what the future held for me, because you don't quite know where you're going at the moment, do you? I certainly did not predict that I'd end up standing here on stage being the most gorgeously dressed person in the room. But that's what happens. So for you, of course, it's been very different, because you've been students at a time, to use the commonly used cliche, at no other time in history. You've had a rough time, no two ways about it. Students in universities all over the country and all around the world have had their studies disrupted by the pandemic, and that's been very difficult for you. And particularly difficult for those of you who depend on laboratory or fieldwork as part of your courses. You've all become experts in the online delivery of education. You probably can't stand yet another Zoom teleconference. I know I can't. And fortunately, many have developed supportive online community of learners. Good for you. But your university experience has been very different to what you had imagined and what you'd hoped for. And at times, it's been very, very tough. Your experience and your well-being have always been at the forefront of our thinking around how we organize your courses. And we've had to carefully consider and balance lots of difficult decisions around your teaching arrangements and even about your safety on campus at times. So we know it's not been easy for you. We know you've had long days, sleepless nights, difficult times, all exacerbated. It's hard enough being a student, but all this has been exacerbated by the unique global circumstances that we've encountered. And your achievements to get you here today are all the greater because of the difficulties you've faced and you've overcome. One thing is certain, every single one of you here today has shown remarkable spirit and dedication to your studies, whatever your discipline. You've demonstrated your learning through all these difficulties. You've persevered with commitment, resilience, and flexibility. And you didn't do it alone, of course. You did it supporting one another. You did it supported by your family and friends and by the university staff. But I'm conscious that even though you didn't do it alone, the past 2 years in particular have often been lonely and at times a bit scary for you as students, where you didn't quite know where things were going. And we in the university, and I speak for the whole university here, and you come from a variety of schools and departments across the faculty, we're all immensely proud of the manner in which you have demonstrated your adaptability, your perseverance, and a real commitment to your studies, and even at times courage. So we're inspired by you and by what you've achieved. And I'd invite your family and friends here today to applaud what you've actually managed to do. So today is all about you, your achievements and your personal successes here at the University of Liverpool. But it's also a day to look forward to the future and to feel excited about your aspirations and your career or your future study plans, wherever you may go. One thing the pandemic has shown us is that we don't know what's going to happen next anywhere. Many of you here today are postgraduates and you spent your time with us developing your research skills, because one thing the pandemic has definitely shown us is that the way out of this kind of problem lies through science, in particular health and life sciences in one form or another. So some of you in developing your research skills may plan to go on to further education, or you may plan to use those, may plan a career dedicated to research, so a whole different number of paths you may wish to go. And while the timing of your studies has undoubtedly been very difficult, I hope you feel that opting for postgraduate study was very definitely the right thing to do. The man and the woman in the street know an awful lot about the value of science now. Everybody's become an expert in epidemiology and understands R numbers and exponential curves and the basics of clinical trials. Vaccines and drugs to combat and manage the pandemic, each one of which is the product of intense research activity, have been vital in enabling a return to something approaching normal life and allow us to be here today. But the need for research, continued research into COVID-19 continues, and many of you may be involved in that, whether it's in relation to long COVID or the pandemic effects on mental health, especially in vulnerable groups, and what we can learn from the pandemic that tells us about our management of future pandemics, or about public health more generally, in particular with how we tackle health inequalities, which have been brought to the fore by the pandemic. And of course, the need for further research is not just in relation to COVID. Let's not forget some of the other great challenges facing us, whether that's climate change and the likely effects that's going to have on food production or biodiversity, or antimicrobial resistance and its cross-species nature. We have to understand how interlinked we all as individuals and how all our sciences are. And I think the array of science that's been deployed to deal with the pandemic illustrates that beautifully, whether it's across mental health, behavior of individuals or populations, public health, human or animal well-being. The pandemic has illustrated how interdependent all of these actually are. So whether it's the risk of a future pandemic or antibiotic resistance or climate change, it's clear that we're going to face huge challenges in the future. But it's a great relief to me and a great pleasure to me to look at you and feel confident that you have developed the skills and have demonstrated the skills that will allow you to actually face those problems and seek solutions for them. That gives me great confidence in where the future is going to go. I don't talk about the pandemic and climate change to dampen spirits on what should be a day of celebration for you, but rather in that spirit of optimism and gratitude that you've taken on these challenges and will continue to do so, because the world knows now that it needs researchers in all the disciplines you represent in a way that perhaps wasn't often clear some years ago. In your careers, you will see new problems arise, you will see some of those problems solved, and hopefully you'll see new opportunities for impact. So I qualified as a medic over 40 years ago. At the time I qualified, HIV didn't exist as far as we knew. It did, but we just didn't know it. And over the past 40 years, HIV has moved from being a disease that wasn't even known to one that was a fatal diagnosis, to one that's not curable, but is now manageable and compatible with a normal life expectancy. And there are lots of examples like that. When I qualified, the life expectancy of a woman with breast cancer was 41 months, and the 5-year survival was 35%. It's now 76% at 10 years. So we haven't conquered breast cancer, far from it, but things are a lot better than they were 40 years ago. And probably, I hope, not quite as good as they're going to be 40 years from here. So there are lots of other examples of how advances in science have changed the outlook of people for the better. What's going to change in your life, in your careers, in research or wherever? Who knows? We can think about the advent of the ready access to information thanks to the internet. We can think about the role of artificial intelligence. We could think about whole new technologies. We don't actually know where any of these are going to go, and we can't predict them. But some things won't change for you. So I'm going to list 3 of those, if I may. The first thing that won't change for you is the need to be a lifelong learner. I used to point out to my medical students when I was teaching them, that when I looked at the list of the top 100 drugs used in Britain, I learned about one of those when I was a medical student. Things change all the time, and things are going to change enormously during your careers. So, for the rest of your careers, you're going to need to commit yourself to always being curious, always asking questions, and always striving to do things better. And just as you should always be a learner, so too you should always be a teacher. Share your experiences with your colleagues and with your students, because that's how we pass on skills onto the next generation. The second thing is never to compromise on your core values. Never compromise on your honesty or your integrity or your willingness to go the extra mile. These are the kind of qualities that you've displayed in abundance in the past 2 years, and they'll stand you in good stead for the future. And the third thing is the need to strive or to continue to work in areas that really matter. Because knowing that what you're doing is important is a really great way to get out of bed in the morning. And I hope it will help you enjoy your work and your career in the future. So let's all celebrate here today together. Let's thank your family and friends who got you here, many of whom are here today. The pandemic has made us truly appreciate our loved ones and the experiences and the memories we made together. I want to take a moment to celebrate that role. I hope you'll find a moment to thank them for their support and the personal sacrifices they've made to get you here. You may have been the one who's actually done the degree, but they've been behind you all the way and made lots of supportive sacrifices to get you here. So for the family and friends, this is a day of celebration too. And I'd like to invite the graduates to applaud their family and friends. And let's also thank your lecturers and teachers who provided you with the training and the support to become the practical, innovative, and creative people that you are, with the necessary skills and qualities to be successful, not just when you start work in the next 6 months or whenever, but actually the skills that you'll use over the rest of your life about how you'd actually become adaptable and how you manage a changing world. We hope that today is a day to enjoy a return to this great city of Liverpool. And we hope for you and your guests to receive a warm welcome from the university. We hope that Liverpool will always feel like home whenever you return here. You may have chosen to stay here and make the city your home. You may have come from Liverpool and stayed here, or we hope that whenever you come back, you'll have warm feelings towards what you experienced here at the time you were a student. So we hope this is a place where you've made friends and memories which will last a lifetime. The Victoria building, that's the the red brick one with the clock tower on it, which you saw in the film earlier on perhaps. It's now a beautiful and iconic gallery and worth a trip. And it's a very recognizable backdrop to many social media posts, and maybe many of you have had photographs taken with it in the background today. So you've walked past it often, and you may not have noticed a plaque affixed onto that Victoria gallery. And the plaque is the motto of the university, which is that the university exists for the advancement of learning and the ennoblement of life. And that's the foundation which this university was built. And it's a motto that continues to guide us in all we do. Our aim is to inspire, engage, and enable every one of you to fulfill your potential by raising your awareness, by helping you challenge barriers you may have faced, and providing you with opportunities to develop. You have certainly advanced your learning. You have certainly, and you will continue, to ennoble life. You've been stretched to think beyond the textbook, beyond the lecture theatre and the laboratory, and you've been encouraged to apply that knowledge to the world around you. Your University of Liverpool education has enabled you to realise just how far you can go and provided you with the skills you need to get there. And we haven't begun to tap that potential yet. That's a task for the rest of your lives. Our university has a long and successful history of graduating inspiring students, just like you, who go on to do fantastic things. You now join that community of talented past graduates. This is a fundamentally important part of the University of Liverpool family, which supports our student body in lots of ways. So some of you may have experienced that, whether that's delivery of lectures or work placement or mentoring or tutorials or whatever. And we hope that, like lots of our past students, you'll stay in touch with us and you will help guide and support our future students and broaden their horizons through your own experiences. Because it's through you that the university is actually known. You're our greatest ambassadors. It's through your achievements and careers that you will become the role models and the important source of inspiration to the next generation of graduates. Despite the many challenges and difficulties you've overcome, I hope you'll also often remember happy and joyful moments during your time here at the University of Liverpool, whether that's been down the RAS or wherever, perhaps less so than in previous years. But don't ever forget how important you are to us in the university. You are the university. Without you, the university would be nothing except classes and laboratories and even just red bricks. You are the beating heart of the university. When we work together, university, students, staff, the whole university, that's when the university becomes a place where discoveries are made, ideas are formed, friendships forged, and so when we work together as staff and as students, that education is truly transformational. So on behalf of the university, I'd like to thank you for everything you've done while you've been here, and we wish you all good luck in your future careers. Thank you. And I now invite Professor Mike Speed, Dean of the School of Life Sciences, to present the graduates from our class of 2021 who are graduating here today. Yep.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, it gives me tremendous pleasure to present to you the following graduates from the class of 2021. Iris Wagner. Max Oliver Brain. Sahifa Akhtar. Tavernier Bianca Wiarich. Elizabeth Bowles. Deborah Buckner. Adam John William Hardy. Catherine Jackson, Francesca Henrietta Omar, Luke Elliott, Elliot Kyriakades, Finbar Russell, Charlotte Rebecca Cooper, Hannah Cross, Oliver McHugh, Zoe Davis, Nishuk Matin, Joel Doherty, Ruan Kulit Zed Al-Harbi, Hugh Emrys Lloyd Williams, Megan Brearley, Georgina Rose Skitt, Rachel Harwood, Hannah Elcox, Emily Howard Seal, Leanne Harper, Camilla Hogg, Kate Victoria May Abbott, Tony Mary Garner, Chloe Rebecca Smith, Alexandra Bowie, Victoria Moore, Bethan John, Susan Teresa Bohm, Hannah Grace Jennings, Prakriti Segal, Sabina Prasad, Anna Louise Jones, William Edward McNamara, Lawrence Peter Hill, Bethany Jade Rushworth, Kai Wen Wang, Hannah Roberts, Emily Hughes, Sarah Little, Zoe Seren Athena Walsh, Anna Shellyan, Rachel Gleave, Olivia Jane Smith, Wesi Maziza Nyolo, Mai Lung Feng, beg pardon. Megan Elizabeth Rigby, Kashmala Karris, Sandra Conlon, Rachel Quinn. Sarah Gords. Cameron Peacock. Andrew Williams. Pauline Young. Muibat Obola Eleru. Nahed Afsval. Rachel Morris. Claire Yasmin Yudes. Pallavi Patel. Iona Mackenzie Lyle Summerscales. Faye Helen Sheldon. Thila Ganau Worthy Abbey Diana Waigum. Michael Doyle. Alina Sibby. Fionn Elizabeth Lewis. Jack Roberts. Lucy Jane Robinson. Michael Edward Jacks. Oliver Bilson. Adam James Simkin. Patrick James Shaw. Oliver Molden. Eleferia Yenaku. And Chinai Grace Ilonzo.
So can I congratulate all our graduates? So this is one of the first graduations we've held in this new auditorium. So you may have all missed it, but it's been stress tested down here in the front by somebody taking it apart in one form or another. I hope you brought a spare screwdriver with you to fix it afterwards. So it's difficult to know what to say on a day like this. I rang up my daughter, who qualified as a radiographer here about 4 years ago, and said, you know, your graduation, who gave the speech at it? And she said, can't remember. She said, what did he or she talk about? Don't know. Don't remember much about your graduation, do you? Yeah, it was brilliant. So I'm hoping you have a brilliant day too, because you deserve it. Congratulations on everything you've achieved, and I'd invite everyone to congratulate you by applause one more time. And then the last thing for me to do is to formally close the ceremony. So we formally close this with a prayer in Latin, which I'll translate for those of you who aren't Latin speakers. So I declare this congregation for the celebration of our graduates closed. Salva sit universitas nostra, may our university prosper. Quod precantes consurgamus. And praying thus, let us all stand together. So well done, everybody, and thank you very much for today.
Graduates and guests, please stand.